Hello, this is Andrew with Mammalian.bike. Today we are going to swap out the handlebar base tower on my 2022 Trek Speed Concept. I believe that the bike comes with a 40 millimeter base tower, and you can buy base towers anywhere from 15 to 75 millimeters. This is the 75 millimeter, or the biggest one you can get. You can buy them directly from Trek's website, and I'll put a link in the description. But it's not clear to me exactly how many of these you need to buy. And I know that sounds kind of weird, but let me explain. I wasn't sure what these things were called, so I ordered them through my local Trek store, and they ordered one of them for about $35. And under the belief that you would get two because, you need two of these. But only one of them arrived. And so they went ahead and got the other one. They only charged me for the $35 because that's what they told me it was going to cost. I thought that was kind of strange. So I called Trek to ask them about it. And they said that they're supposed to come in a pair. So without actually buying another set, I'm not sure exactly what the story is with that. If you have plenty of time, I'd say, probably the best way to do it is the way that I did it, which is to work through your bike shop so that they can sort out any weirdness with it. If you do, or if you don't have a local Trek dealer, if you have plenty of time, maybe just order one and see if you get two of them and let me know. Or order two of them, and if you get four, just return the two that you don't need. Sorry about the camera angle here. I couldn't really figure out a better way to do this, but we're going to get started now. Most of this should be pretty similar to the video when I swapped in these DI2 extra buttons up there, because we're basically going to have to tear this whole thing apart. But let's get to it. First thing here is going to take out the arm pads. I assume you all know how to get the nice cover off of here. It's Velcro-ish. All right, these things just kind of pull off. Put them to the side, don't lose them. Gonna swap out for a size 4 and loosen these up. Oh, one thing to note, this whole thing's gonna move around. So if you don't have your measurements written down somewhere, now is when you want to get them before you take them off, because putting it back the way it was is going to be complicated if you don't know the distance here. What you want to do, for the most part, you just kind of get from your seat, because you're only going to mess with this whole thing. You're not going to take these apart. So if you just get from your seat to the buttons at the top, you can just put it back the way that it was, and you should be fine once you put the base tower in. One thing that I forgot to note that I learned in this whole process is that when everything is flat, it's actually a 7% rise. So if you want to put your bars total at a 0% rise, you're gonna have to put in the -7 spacer. That's just an interesting thing that I learned. That has absolutely no bearing in any of this. I just wanted to say that out loud. Let's get back to taking these off. So these are nice and loose now when they're sliding back and forth. We should probably take out this panel here where all the DI2 stuff is hidden, so that, because we're going to have to disconnect the wires from the junctions. So when you take out this last set of bolts, this thing's just going to fall off. Well, it's going to fall off as much as the DI2 wires will let it fall off. But you don't want it to let it fall off that much, because you don't want to create too much torque on these wires. So what I like to do is just kind of move it over a little bit, because we need to loosen up these bolts on both sides here so we can get this part and these spacers out. So the bike comes with, I think, 3 different lengths of bolt to make all this stuff tie together. This is the longest one because I have the most amount of spacers in there. You want to use the appropriate length for however many additional spacers you have in there. So once all this stuff is off, you can take these out if you want. I'm just going to leave them. And what I'm going to do here, put a little tape on here to kind of keep everything together. Still kind of holding on to it because I don't want this to pull on the DI2 wires. So the next step is going to be to disconnect. Well, I'm going to disconnect these because I have them. Unless you have these extra buttons up here, you're not going to have these junctions, inline junctions here. So I can get at this. And now figure out which ones of the need to be disconnected down here so I can just pull out this whole bar setup. Okay, so that one doesn't want to come out, which is not ideal. So we're going to take this off and then see if we can work that out. Now there are 2 bolts underneath here. They are not 4s, they're 5s. So the complexity here around getting this out, or actually this one out, was that it got wedged underneath the brake hose, which kind of runs through here along this part. And because it got wedged there, I just couldn't get it out. So what I did is I used a small hex key to kind of pull the brake hose this way enough to let this part of the wire connector come through. And then this part just kind of comes off. Okay, so now it's time to put the new towers on. I'm going to pull these wires a little bit longer. And I think what I'm going to try to do is thread these DI2 wires through here before I attach this to the base bar here. Get the dog hair out of the way. Before I attach it to the base bar, because it's probably going to be easier to thread this back through without having to thread it through 75 millimeters of aluminum. Like other times when I'm threading DI2, I like to use these. This is an inside the bike outer cable for mechanical, and these fit really nicely over the little metal part that's in the middle there, and so it's a really convenient way to route something that is reasonably stiff, and you can make it move around and you don't really care what happens to it. I'm wondering, it might be best to try to go like this instead of coming up the other way. So I am able to feel it down there, but I can't make it turn, so I'm going to use the pick. These are really handy for this kind of thing. See if I can just see it with the... If I see it, I need to grab it. And once it's through, cut it. So this done, normally I would just reuse this piece, but I think it's going to be too much trouble to try to do this other one while holding the bars here. So I'm just going to run the other one and waste a little bit more of this stuff. All right. Base towers on hand. And when you're doing this, you don't want to pull on this because it'll come off of there. You want it just to be a guide so that when you're pushing on this, it goes to the right place. Got it. Just to make sure we don't accidentally lose it back in the bike. Go ahead and connect that up. All right, next one. Again, check orientation, super critical. The word should be on the top. All right, that's through now. And again, let's lock this down. There we go. And then nip them back up with these bolts from the bottom. The torque is written on the bottom here. It says, I don't know, but I think 6.3 or something like that, but I will confirm that once I get my hands back. Okay, those are nice and snug. Now, I will of course go back and torque them appropriately when the time comes. And now it is time to put this stuff back together. Just kind of gently pull on the wires here to feed this stuff back inside. Now, depending on if you want to keep your spacers here or not, this is when you would take them out. I'm going to leave them because I'm trying to go up as high as I can go right now. So before you get them too tight, you want to use your fingers to kind of make sure that they're smooth. And then of course torque these down as appropriate as well. So that should be pretty much all there is to it. You just have to do the same thing over here that you did there, and then just shove all these wires back inside the box down here. I hope you thought that was useful. If you did, go ahead and like the video and subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below and I will get to them as soon as I can. Thanks.